Ethan and I were reborn together. In our past life, he picked me out of the children's home to be his foster sister. Later, I'm his sister, beloved wife. We grew old together, deeply in love. But this time, when Ethan's parents motioned for me to come over just like before, teenage Ethan jumped right in. Mom, Dad, I don't want her. I want this girl to be my sister. He took the hand of the girl next to me, Lila, the Caldwell's foster kid who died way young last time. His eyes on me were nothing but cold. You stole Lila's life and killed her. Now, it's your turn to burn in the hell that killed her. That was when it struck me. In this life, Ethan wasn't going to choose me. He wanted to be the knight who rescued the princess. Sweetheart, would you like to come home with us? Mrs. Caldwell asked gently. I glanced at her, then at the boy I had once loved for a lifetime. He walked away with Lila, not sparing me a single look. I nodded. Fine. This time, I wanted a different path too. When I left the children's home, the Winters family was waiting outside. The moment Ethan spotted me, he shoved Lila into the back seat and sneered. Sophia, don't even try begging. I'll never take you home again. We're done. You're nothing but a thief. You deserve whatever happens with these people. He gave me a hard shove, then slammed the car door in my face. Their convoy roared away, leaving me coughing in the dust. That was when a sleek black Maybach pulled up. The window slid down, revealing Mrs. Caldwell's frosty expression. You'd rather stay with the Winters?
She asked.
I shook my head quickly.
No, ma'am.
The Caldwells are perfect. Her eyes widened slightly at my answer. What's your name, sweetheart? Sophia, I whispered. Then from now on, you're Sophia Caldwell. Just like that, my identity shifted. I climbed into the car and forced a polite smile. Thank you, Mom. Mrs. Caldwell raised a brow, but said nothing. She leaned back, eyes closed, making it clear she expected silence. Soon, the iron gates of the Caldwell estate opened before us. It was a place that looked more like a palace than a home. Inside, Mrs. Caldwell tossed her Hermes bag onto a table and called out casually, Adrian, come meet your new sister, Sophia Caldwell. My breath caught. On the second-floor balcony stood a boy whose beauty eclipsed even Ethan's. He had been watching quietly, his expression unreadable. Adrian Caldwell. In my past life, I hadn't met him until years later, after he had returned from boarding school abroad. By then, his face was scarred, and with his ruthless rise in the business world, people called him the Reaper. But right now, he was still untouched by tragedy, breathtaking in his youth. I smiled brightly and waved up at him. Hi, brother. He didn't reply. His gaze was blank, almost lifeless. Don't mind him, Mrs. Caldwell murmured. He isn't very talkative. She signaled the housekeeper to show me around. Just as I was about to leave, I felt it, a heavy stare. I glanced back, and my heart skipped. Adrian was watching me again, his eyes fixed, unblinking. Then, without a word, he turned and disappeared into his room. I had been with the Caldwells for over a month. Mrs. Caldwell was rarely home, but Adrian I sometimes saw at dinner. Each time, I greeted him with my sweetest, hello, brother. He never once replied. Still, I had no time to dwell on it. Mrs. Caldwell had made her expectations clear. Caldwell children are meant to be exceptional, fostered or not. And so, my days were filled with etiquette classes, ballet, and horseback riding. Even our housekeeper, Maria, often looked at me with pity when I came back bruised and sore. Sweetheart, should I ask if you can take a break? She would offer gently. I always shook my head. No, I'm fine. Because this was the life I had chosen. The Caldwells were old money, the kind of family that commanded respect in ways the Winters never could. Here, I could build a future that mattered, no matter how cold the household felt. Even so, the family remained distant. The relatives ignored me. Mrs. Caldwell was demanding, and Adrian stayed as aloof as ever. I was still mulling over all this one afternoon when a tiny white kitten darted to my feet. Princess, no. That's the wrong person. Come back. A sweet voice called. Ethan, help me catch her. I froze, kitten in my arms, as a familiar figure strolled toward me with an easy grin. It was Ethan. The moment Ethan's eyes landed on me, his grin disappeared, replaced with raw disgust. You followed us here? God, you're like some disease that won't go away. His voice dripped with contempt. What? You think hanging around long enough will make me pity you? Keep dreaming. Sophia? Lila's cheerful voice cut through his venom. She lifted her skirt and hurried over, clutching the little white kitten. Her face lit up when she reached me. I can't believe this. We just left the group home, and here you are. Is that car waiting for you? She pointed toward the sleek Maybach behind me. When her gaze recognized it, her smile faltered, her skin going pale. No way. You got adopted by the Caldwells. I didn't answer right away. My eyes had caught the pendant around her neck, a small silver key. She noticed my stare, quickly pressed her hand over it, and forced a nervous laugh. I pretended not to notice. Yeah, I said evenly. The Caldwells. Lila's eyes widened. So you're Sophia Caldwell now. Ethan stiffened, clearly irritated he had gotten it wrong earlier. Yep. She leaned closer, lowering her voice like she was trading secrets. Are they as terrifying as people say? I heard their son can't even speak. Is that true? She pointed toward the Caldwell estate with wide-eyed curiosity. I opened my mouth to correct her, but she barreled on, examining my riding outfit. Wait, are you taking archery or something? I forced a polite smile. Actually, I should be heading back. Lila, stop wasting time, Ethan snapped, cutting me off. Let's go. She made a tiny sound of protest but obeyed, sticking her tongue out playfully at me before chasing after him. Ethan, wait up. I stood there for a moment, watching them leave. Then I turned to go back toward the estate. Their voices carried in the breeze behind me. I don't know what's gotten into him today, Lila murmured. Forget it. The Caldwells are strict anyway. Look at Sophia, same age as you, but she's bruised from all those classes. Poor thing, Ethan replied with a snort. Humph. What's the point of a girl learning all that? Some people just aren't cut out for an easy life. Our Lila only needs to look pretty, like the princess she is. Winter's girls don't need to suffer like that.
Right.
Mom, Dad, and your brother will always protect you.
Suffer?
The word made me laugh under my breath. In my past life, the Winters had spoiled me to the point of uselessness. Whenever I wanted to learn something meaningful, they shut it down. Horseback riding? What if you fall and scar yourself? How will you ever marry well? Self-defense classes? No need. We have bodyguards. Business and finance? Your brother will take care of that. Don't trouble yourself. They called it love, but it was really a gilded cage. They molded me into a fragile doll, unable to stand without someone holding me up. The Caldwells were different. Cold, yes, even harsh, but their motto was clear. Caldwell children learn everything. Caldwell children fight for everything. Summer break vanished in a blur of lessons and bruises. Before I knew it, school was starting again. Mrs. Caldwell had already arranged my transfer to Westfield Prep, the same prestigious school Adrian attended. Ironically, it was the very same place Ethan and I had gone in our past life. On the first day, I slipped into the car early. When Adrian opened the door, I beamed. Hey there. Mom says we're riding together now. He paused, expression unreadable, then slid in and sat as far from me as possible. The second day was the same. The third. The fourth. For 2 months straight, this silent routine continued. But I noticed something. Whenever I was running late, still finishing my toast or scrambling with my bag, Adrian would still be by the car waiting. He never said a word, just stood there with his leather messenger bag slung over his shoulder, impassive as always. I forced a small smile. You're the best. Blank stare. No reply. But this time, he stepped in with his right foot first instead of his left. Tiny changes. Imperceptible to anyone else. But I noticed. Baby steps. And I'd take them. Then came the morning that broke the routine. I waited outside the main hall for ages. No Adrian. His phone went straight to voicemail. Unease gnawed at me. A memory from my past life struck like lightning. Around this time, whispers had gone around Westfield about trouble at the school gates. A planned attack. Back then, I'd been too buried in coursework to pay attention. Later, I'd learned the truth. Adrian Caldwell's face had been ruined. It wasn't an accident. It had been deliberate. My pulse raced. Oh God.
Was this that day?
I didn't have time to think. I texted Marcus, our driver. If you don't see me at the main entrance, check the back gate. Right now. Then I ran. Adrian. Please let me be on time. By the time I reached the back street, Adrian was cornered against a wall by a pack of thugs. Check it out, the little Caldwell prince really is mute, one sneered. We're beating him up, and he doesn't even make a sound. Good. Mutes can't snitch. Unless you want the Caldwell family after us. Another chuckled darkly. Damn kid, he's still staring me down. The tallest of them, who looked barely older than a high schooler, spat at Adrian's shoes and pulled a box cutter. The blade glinted as he aimed it straight for Adrian's face. My heart lurched. A baseball bat lay on the ground nearby. I snatched it up, forcing air into my lungs. The cops are already on their way. I screamed, then barreled into the group, swinging like a lunatic. Thanks to Mrs. Caldwell's brutal PE regimen, I actually had some strength. The sudden attack startled them, and the mention of police spooked them further.
Shit.
Lucky bastard. One cursed as they began to scatter. The moment they backed off, I rushed to Adrian's side. A thin gash marked his cheek, his arms and legs scraped and bruised, but he was still standing. Adrian, stay with me. I'll get you out of here, I urged, trying to pull him to his feet. Then something slammed into my back. I hit the ground hard, pain shooting through me. Lying little bitch, a voice roared. Cops, huh? Think you're clever? The thug they called Tommy kicked me again and again, rage spilling with every strike. A mute and a lying brat, what a pair, his crew laughed viciously. Curled on the ground, I could barely breathe. Through the haze, I caught Adrian's wide, terrified eyes locked on me. Somehow, I found the strength to smile weakly at him. It's okay. Don't be scared. He froze. I stayed there, curled around him, refusing to move no matter how hard they hit. Then, suddenly, Adrian snapped. With a guttural cry, he lunged at the nearest thug and sank his teeth into the boy's arm. The shock of it gave us a few precious seconds. But it wasn't enough. There were too many of them. They dragged him off, fists and boots raining down. Someone even lifted a crowbar. My vision blurred. Was this really how it would end? Just as despair took over, I heard footsteps echoing down the alley. Please, let it be Marcus. Through blood and haze, I forced my eyes open and caught sight of white Air Jordans at the alley entrance. The figure standing there was backlit, his shadow long across the pavement. Hey, dickhead, what are you staring at? One thug snarled. Not Marcus. I blinked through tears, straining to see. Then a cheerful voice floated from the street. Ethan, what are you doing just standing there? The bakery's this way. Silence. Then, yeah, coming. My lips trembled. Ethan, his steps faltered for a single beat. But in the end, he didn't turn back. He just reached for the girl's hand. Lila peeked into the alley, saw the chaos, and shrieked. Oh my God, Ethan. Someone's getting hurt. Didn't you see? He quickly covered her eyes, his tone soft and protective. Don't look. It's bad luck. I barely heard his next words, whispered against her hair. My sweet Lila, I found you this time. I'll keep you safe. You won't suffer through the Caldwell's cruelty or die the way you did before. His voice blurred with the memory of our last life. His final words before death had been a broken litany. It's my fault. If only I'd found you sooner. Back then, I thought he was mourning my miscarriage, my shattered body. I had clung to him, sobbing, whispering, don't blame yourself, we'll be together next life. We'll have our babies then. But I had been wrong. His regret had never been about me. It had always been about her. This time, he hadn't come to save me. He had come to watch me suffer, to give me the pain his angel once endured. I almost laughed through the blood choking me, because I remembered what people had whispered after the attack in my past life. How Adrian had fought like hell to protect Lila and how she had run, never once looking back. Yet Ethan had twisted it in his mind, turning her cowardice into innocence.
Ha.
So he truly believed his fragile princess was pure? A bitter laugh tore from my throat. Then I dragged myself across the ground, clamped my arms around one thug's leg, and refused to let go. Don't you hurt my brother? No matter how hard he kicked, I held on, until at last the strength drained from me completely. And everything went dark. When I opened my eyes, the first thing I noticed was the sharp, sterile scent in the air. A hospital room. The second thing was a boy with unruly hair slumped over the chair beside my bed, fast asleep. Marcus must have gotten me here just in time. I shifted, trying to sit up, and the movement stirred him awake. Adrian's eyes fluttered open, dark and intense, and for a long moment, he just stared at me. Then, with hesitant care, he reached out and brushed his fingers against the gauze on my forehead. Does it hurt? His voice was raw, rough around the edges, like it hadn't been used in years. Yet somehow it sounded soft, even gentle. I froze. Adrian was speaking to me. Mrs. Caldwell entered right then, and for once her perfect composure cracked. Her eyes went wide in shock. Adrian, was that you? She rushed forward, voice trembling. Sweetheart, can you say something to Mommy too? Please. But Adrian only glanced at her briefly before turning back to me, silent as ever. The atmosphere grew heavy. I tried to bridge the gap. Mom. Adrian just. She shook her head quickly, blinking back tears. It's all right, darling. He'll find his voice again when he's ready. We can't force it. The moment passed, and Maria arrived with a lunch tray. As we ate, she explained what had happened. The attackers were nothing more than street thugs chasing money. One of them, unbelievably, was a student from our school. The older ones were headed to prison, and the boy had already been expelled. I nodded along, but my gaze kept drifting to Adrian, who was quietly eating his sandwich, like nothing in the world could distract him. It struck me then how in another life, people like those punks had destroyed him. This time, he was safe. This time, he had a chance. I must have stopped eating because Adrian gave me a puzzled look. Sister, eat. I smiled faintly, adding fruit to his plate. You too. The peace didn't last long. A nurse soon appeared and insisted he return to the children's ward. That's when I learned he'd snuck out just to see me. Before he left, Adrian reached out and gave my head a light pat. Sophia, get better soon. It was only a few words, yet they carried enough weight to make the entire room fall silent. Even Maria discreetly wiped her eyes. After Adrian was escorted away, Mrs. Caldwell lingered, staring at the empty hallway. Without her usual polished mask, no makeup, no armor, she seemed softer, almost fragile. Adrian wasn't always like this, she murmured, sitting down beside me. He used to be so ahead of other children. Bright, composed, a prodigy. But after the accident, her voice wavered. My chest tightened. She told me everything. Adrian once had a cousin named Vivian, the daughter of his late uncle. When Adrian's father and Vivian's parents were killed in a car crash, Mrs. Caldwell was left to keep both the family and the business afloat. She brought Vivian into their home and raised her as her own. Those years had been brutal. With her husband gone, vultures circled the company, eager to tear it apart. She hardened herself to survive, and in doing so made powerful enemies. For years ago, they struck. Adrian and Vivian were kidnapped. During the ordeal, 6-year-old Vivian threw herself at one of the men, biting his hand as he beat Adrian. Enraged, the man bludgeoned her with a crowbar until she stopped moving. Adrian witnessed it all. After they were rescued, he never smiled again. He never spoke again. Mrs. Caldwell's eyes glistened as she stood and turned toward the window. I tried everything. Therapy, doctors, nothing worked. Someone suggested bringing in another sister, hoping it might help him heal. You're not the first girl I've brought home, Sophia. But, her voice softened. You're the first one he's truly let in. I can see it. He cares for you. A week later, I was discharged from the hospital and returned to the Caldwell estate. Everything felt different. The staff, who once regarded me as a temporary guest they could dismiss at any time, now treated me with the formality and respect reserved for a true heiress. Their sudden warmth was almost unsettling. But the change didn't mean my days got any easier. If anything, life became more demanding. Mrs. Caldwell was blunt about it. If you want to inherit Caldwell Industries someday, Sophia, you need the skill to make others respect you. When the extended family heard those words, their shock was palpable. Every glance thrown my way carried calculation, suspicion, even hostility. I barely had time to notice, though, because I was too worried about how Adrian would react. I thought he might feel left behind or overshadowed. Instead, when I looked at him, he was propped on his elbow, chin in hand, watching me with an easy smile. Sophia, don't be afraid, he said softly. You're the best. The warmth in his eyes steadied me, and I nodded, grinning.
Yeah.
Even Mrs. Caldwell's features softened at the exchange. Adrian, you'd better work harder, or Sophia's going to surpass you. Your little sister might end up protecting you instead. Adrian leapt to his feet, genuinely alarmed. No way. I protect Sophia. He broke into an impromptu series of kung fu poses right there in the dining room. Since the incident at school, he had thrown himself into martial arts training with fierce dedication, determined never to be powerless again. Watching his clumsy yet earnest display, Mrs. Caldwell and I both burst out laughing. For once, our laughter was unguarded, shared, real. She had once told me, Sophia, you are Adrian's greatest blessing. But sitting there, watching him flail through mock martial arts while grinning at me, I thought, maybe I was the lucky one too. Time slipped by quickly after that. With the Caldwells urging me to excel, I transformed into their golden child. My name began appearing on the school honor roll, often right beside Adrian's, even though he was a grade ahead. Lila, who had once been brilliant in our past life, never made the list this time. She was too busy chasing parties and luxury brands. Ethan remained as mediocre as ever, caught in the same stagnant rhythm as before. Our families had drifted apart long ago. It seemed inevitable now that Ethan and I would live entirely separate lives. But sometimes, at the honor board, I'd feel his gaze lingering from the crowd. Ethan, what are you staring at? You know neither of our names are up there, Lila would tease, tugging at his arm. Nothing, he'd mutter, pulling her away before I could turn and catch his expression. And life moved forward. When I turned 18, everything shifted again. Graduation loomed on the horizon. Adrian had left for Oxford 3 years earlier, flourishing abroad. Yet on the day of my SATs, despite my protests, he booked a red-eye flight just to be there. My sister's graduation is more important than anything, he insisted. I gave up arguing. That was Adrian. Once he decided something, there was no moving him. After my final exam, I walked out of the building and immediately spotted him. Leaning against his car in a black button-down and jeans, he looked like he belonged on a billboard. Heads turned as he stood there, effortlessly magnetic, every girl who passed whispering to her friends. So much for keeping a low profile. I rushed toward him, hissing under my breath. Come on, we need to go. He tilted his head, confused, already reaching for my backpack. What's the rush? Aren't you happy I came back for you? Of course I am, I whispered, shoving him toward the car. But we're supposed to meet everyone at the restaurant, remember? If we're late, they'll never let us hear the end of it. We had planned a small celebration, Adrian's surprise return, my graduation, the promise of a new chapter. And as always, with Adrian beside me, I felt ready for whatever came next. The graduation party spilled into something bigger when our friends decided to check out the racetrack. Adrian and I didn't have anything else going on, so we tagged along. The place was buzzing, an amateur racing event in full swing. Wait, who's on the leaderboard? One of our friends asked, squinting at the scoreboard. Ethan Winters? He's back from Europe? Since when does he drive competitively? I froze.
Ethan.
Adrian had gone to Oxford on merit. Ethan, on the other hand, had skipped real college and bought himself some meaningless overseas degree. Yet, as the Winters heir, he still drew attention wherever he went. Right on cue, a red Ferrari roared across the finish line, and Ethan climbed out, soaking in the cheers. He had shed his teenage look, replacing it with the sharp edges of the man I had once been married to in another life. From the VIP section, a girl in a flowing dress ran toward him, threw her arms around him, and kissed his cheek. Lila. Their relationship was painfully obvious. In my past life, our romance had been messy. Back then, as the Winters' foster daughter, being with Ethan had created endless family drama. But this time around, they had rewritten history. Lila wasn't formally listed as their foster child, just a family friend's kid staying with them. A clever move that kept their reputations clean. The crowd adored the golden couple. My friends, however, weren't impressed. Looks like the Winters bought out the place tonight, one muttered. Let's find somewhere else. We were about to head out when Ethan and Lila, trailed by admirers, crossed paths with us. Ethan's gaze cut through the crowd until it found me. For a moment, raw surprise flickered across his face, then something like admiration. He froze, dropped Lila's hand, and just stared. Ethan? Lila's voice turned sharp, her eyes snapping to me. Sophia Caldwell? What are you doing here? She gave me a quick up and down like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Before I could even answer, she sneered. Don't tell me you heard Ethan was back and came just to watch him race? Her words hung in the air like poison. Ethan's face shifted, subtle, but he didn't deny it. His casual glance at me carried the same judgment, as if he half believed her accusation. I was speechless. Did they really think I was that pathetic? Adrian stepped in, his expression darkening, his tall frame shielding me completely. Ethan's jaw tightened at the protective gesture, his tone turning casual but edged. Sophia, don't mind Lila. She's direct. Direct. Lila snapped, her designer heel clicking against the pavement as she stomped. She's following us around, Ethan. Why are you defending her? Enough, Ethan said softly, but his eyes kept drifting past Adrian, back to me. One of our friends finally lost patience. Winters, keep your princess in check. Sophia's here celebrating her graduation, not watching some amateur race. The jab hit home. Lila bristled, indignant. Amateur? Ethan just took first place. Ethan's easy smile vanished. His voice dropped cold. Adrian, long time no see. That race was child's play. Care to join a real one? The air shifted. Adrian's jaw tightened, but I caught his arm and shook my head. I wasn't about to let Ethan drag us into his theatrics. When Adrian let me pull him back, Ethan's grin turned smug. Thought so. Chickening out, huh? The provocation burned. Silence fell. No one wanted to answer for Adrian. They knew he hadn't raced publicly in years. Then Adrian's hand ruffled my hair lightly. His voice was warm, calm. Want to see your brother win? I blinked, then smiled.
Hell yeah.
Without sparing Ethan a glance, Adrian walked toward the track. Ethan's face twisted with rage, as though he'd never been dismissed like that in his life. Engines roared. At the gun, Ethan's Ferrari shot forward, scarlet and loud. Adrian's matte black car trailed behind. Lila leaned toward me, smugness radiating off her.
See?
He doesn't stand a chance. Ethan's already smoking him off the line. I stayed quiet, eyes fixed on the track. Then, on a brutal high-speed corner, Adrian made his move. Late braking, clean execution, his car sliced past Ethan's Ferrari like a shadow. By the time they crossed the finish line, Adrian was ahead. The entire venue went silent. That technique, someone whispered. Wasn't that the ghost? Last year's Triple Crown champion. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Nobody really knew what Adrian looked like. He avoided interviews, refused the spotlight, but his reputation spoke for itself. Adrian climbed out, walked straight toward me, and held out his hand. Let's go, Sophia. I took his arm, grinning.
Yeah.
Behind us, Lila sputtered, unable to form words. Ethan, on the other hand, looked ready to shatter. His pride had been ripped apart in front of everyone, and Adrian hadn't even bothered to acknowledge him. The SAT results were finally released. I'd scored a perfect 1600. It didn't surprise me, but Mrs. Caldwell and Adrian were thrilled. They promised that once my college acceptance letters arrived, we'd celebrate with a trip abroad. I reminded them I still had a mountain of AP classes to get through. Adrian frowned. You're too tightly wound, Sophia. You need to breathe a little, actually enjoy yourself. Mrs. Caldwell added gently, no matter what happens, sweetheart, you'll always have this family at your side.
Do you understand that?
For a moment, I just stood there, caught off guard. Was I really putting too much pressure on myself in this second life? Maybe Ethan abandoning me had cut deeper than I wanted to admit. Maybe that was why I'd been pushing myself so relentlessly, to prove I was worthy of the Caldwells, terrified of being discarded again. Looking at their worried faces, a warmth spread through me. I decided to accept their plan. The morning we headed to the airport, we crossed paths with the Winters family. The air around them was heavy with tension. Mr. and Mrs. Winters looked furious. Ethan's expression was carved from stone, and Lila shuffled behind him, a shadow of herself. I overheard the whispers quickly enough. Lila had been caught cheating on her SAT. Her scores had been cancelled, and now the Winters were the scandal of the entire social circle. Mrs. Caldwell, amused, murmured, "They're so ashamed they're sending her to Europe until it blows over." I couldn't believe it. With her family's influence, Lila could have studied abroad and bought her way into prestige without breaking a sweat. Why risk everything on a stupid test? I shook my head. Not my problem. While standing in line for boarding, I felt someone's eyes on me. Ethan. He was watching me, his face conflicted. When he realized I'd caught him, he froze, then forced out, "Congratulations on the perfect score." "Thanks," I replied curtly, turning back toward the gate. The shock on his face was obvious. He started toward me, as if he had more to say. "Sophia," but Lila clamped onto his arm, her glare full of venom. "She doesn't want to talk to you. Let go of me." Ethan snapped, shaking her off so hard she stumbled and crashed to the ground. Frustration boiled out of her as she shouted from the floor. "You regret it, don't you? You're the one who threw her away first." Her words froze Ethan where he stood. But my turn in line had come. I didn't look back. I followed the Caldwells through security. Hawaii awaited her. Time blurred after that. I threw myself into college, hungry to learn, determined to wield my family connections as real influence. By sophomore year, I had built my own research team, recruiting minds so brilliant they often made me feel ordinary. Mrs. Caldwell backed me fully, even handing me control of a smaller subsidiary. Our first project was a massive success, propelling that company into the spotlight. Breakthroughs followed one after another until we were competing head-to-head with Caldwell Industries itself. People started calling me a rising star. By the time I graduated, Adrian had returned from England and taken his place among the Caldwell executives. Everyone in the industry predicted conflict, blood heir versus adopted daughter, rivalry for power. But there was none. I had Adrian's back completely. With me and Mrs. Caldwell behind him, plus his own uncanny instincts, Adrian secured his position without trouble. Then came the big announcement. The subsidiary I had built would spin off into an independent corporation, rebranded as Moonrise Corporation. That night, fireworks lit the sky above the Moonrise building. On the rooftop, Adrian stood beside me. "Sophia, remember this. Caldwell Industries will always stand behind Moonrise." I smirked. "Give it time. Moonrise might be the one bailing Caldwell out someday." He laughed. "You're probably right. My little sister's going to own half of Wall Street." I turned to the glittering skyline, smiling wider than I had in years. This had been the deal with Mrs. Caldwell. Moonrise was mine. Just one subsidiary, she had teased when we first negotiated. "I might have given you half the empire if you'd asked, but I'd shaken my head.
No.
I want something entirely mine. Something that belongs only to Sophia Caldwell." 2 lifetimes had taught me one hard truth. The only things you can truly rely on are the ones you control completely. As a celebrated alumna, I was invited back to my old university to compete in their annual equestrian archery tournament. For me, it was less about the glory and more about a break from the constant grind of running Moonrise Corporation. Still, it felt good to win, and I did. Taking the gold wasn't even surprising. When I stepped down from the podium, I was immediately surrounded by faculty and administrators, all eager to shake my hand and congratulate me. I eventually slipped out of the crowd, only to hear someone call my name. "Sophia." "Ethan." It was the first time I'd seen him since he came back to take over Winters Industries. He didn't spare Lila, who was glaring from the sidelines, even a glance. Instead, he walked straight toward me, his eyes flicking over my competition gear like he was seeing me for the first time. "You've become even more remarkable." There was something raw in his expression, admiration, regret, longing. It hit me with an odd familiarity. In my last life, I'd seen him wear that same look at a gala, when Lila had been paraded on stage to play piano as the Caldwells' treasured foster daughter. The thought nearly made me laugh. Even in this lifetime, Ethan was still hopelessly predictable, still yearning after what he couldn't have. I offered him a polite nod and kept walking, but he stepped in my way, blocking me. His eyes had darkened. "What if I told you we could start over? You could be my sister again." I froze, baffled. Sister? Was he serious? Did he honestly think I still revolved around him? I cut him off, my tone flat as ice. "I have no idea what you're talking about. If you're really this bored, maybe focus on saving Winters Industries before it collapses." His face hardened. I knew the rumors. Winters stock had been sinking for months. In my past life, the company had spiraled at this exact stage. Ethan's pride wouldn't let him ask for help, so I had to base myself, pleading with Adrian, already infamous as the Reaper, to save them. But this time, Ethan knew what was coming. He'd tried to maneuver early. It didn't matter. Winters was rotten to the core, crippled by years of arrogance and mismanagement. Without the Caldwells backing him, Ethan didn't stand a chance. He was already finished. I turned to leave, unwilling to waste another second, when Lila's shrill voice cut through the air. "Sophia Caldwell, Ethan and I are engaged, so could you stay the hell away from him?" She stormed up, fury etched across her face. Ethan, clearly at the end of his patience, shoved her aside. "What's wrong with you? You're useless enough. Stop making everything worse." She hit the ground hard, eyes wide with shock. For the first time, she seemed to see the truth in his gaze, disgust and irritation. The illusion she'd been clinging to shattered right there. Her lips twisted into a manic smile as she pointed first at him, then at me. "You regret choosing me, don't you? You want her back. But look at her, she's Sophia Caldwell. Do you really think she'd take you now?" That's when it hit me. The madness in her eyes, the way she clung to this twisted narrative, Lila had been reborn too. Shut up, Ethan snapped, his voice panicked. He yanked her upright, forcing a strained smile toward me.
Sorry about that.
My sister's been under a lot of stress lately. Sister? We're supposed to be engaged and you call me your sister? Lila screamed, thrashing in his grip. Their argument escalated into a vicious scene, drawing stares from everyone nearby. I didn't wait to see how it ended. By the time I sank into the passenger seat of Adrian's Tesla, I finally felt like I could breathe again. He glanced at me, amused. What the hell happened back there? You look like you just walked out of a horror movie. I did, I answered seriously. Some terrifying people, that's for sure. Because that's exactly what it felt like. Even a simple alumni event couldn't escape their chaos. What miserable luck. Moonrise Corporation was on fire. Between our explosive growth and the powerful cross-industry partnerships we'd built with Caldwell Industries, we were dominating every sector we touched. I'd become the new girl of Silicon Valley and Wall Street, the poster child for startup success. These days, when people mention my name, it wasn't that Caldwell Foster kid anymore. It was Sophia Caldwell, founder and CEO of Moonrise Corp. Winters Industries, meanwhile, was circling the drain. From what I'd heard, they'd sold off major assets and dumped huge amounts of stock just to stay afloat. Even though I'd protected both Caldwell Industries and Moonrise from taking advantage, partly out of residual gratitude for how the Winters had raised me in my past life, they were barely holding on. I ran into Ethan again at a project bidding conference. I was seated on the judging panel. He was down in the general audience with Lila, both of them flinching every time our eyes met. The once mighty Winters Industries was now just another company desperately scrambling for contracts. I looked away and focused on the presentations. During the break, I headed to the restroom. While washing my hands, Lila suddenly appeared behind me, like some horror movie ghost. We need to talk, she hissed. I dried my hands and walked into the lounge area next door. She followed. You got a second chance too, didn't you? Does it matter? I asked, keeping my tone flat. Her voice pitched higher, erratic. Ethan dumped your ass and chose me. Are you seriously not mad about that? I stayed neutral. Huh. He shipped you off to the psychotic Caldwells. He knew Mrs. Caldwell was fake and Adrian a complete nutcase. Watch your mouth, I warned. Oh right, now you're defending your precious Caldwell family. Her glare was poisonous. She laughed bitterly. My bad. I forgot. You're the Caldwell princess now. Somehow, you got them all wrapped around your finger. That's some next-level manipulation. Relationships are about give and take. You get what you give, I said evenly. Do you know what drives me insane? This whole holier-than-thou thing you've got going. Why do you always land on your feet? Last time, you got picked up by the Winters, lived like royalty, even married Ethan. This time, even with those Caldwell freaks, you still made them fall in love with you. And Ethan can't stop obsessing over you. What the hell do you have that I don't? I took a careful step back, keeping my calm. You've got it wrong. Ethan only has feelings for you. She tilted her head back, cackling. Only for me? The girl he can't get over isn't me at all. It's whoever this necklace belonged to originally, you, Sophia Caldwell. She yanked a key pendant from her neck, her grin wild and unhinged. Do you remember? When we were kids, you saved that drowning boy outside the children's home. He was dressed so fancy. I pretended to be you when his family came looking. I took this necklace. He said he'd come back for me. I waited forever, but he took you home to the Winters instead. I couldn't stand seeing you so happy. So I dropped little hints to Ethan. He bought into it. But then later, her voice turned vicious. I leaked a tiny bit of info, and Mrs. Caldwell was ready to kick me out. And Adrian tried to beat me half to death. If he hadn't been such a freak, I never would have run and gotten hurt. Thank God we got a second chance. But now Ethan doesn't want to get engaged anymore, even though he used to worship me. Everything clicked. Lila still didn't understand. Ethan had never been obsessed with me, Sophia Caldwell. He'd been chasing the fantasy of the untouchable Caldwell heiress. In our past life, that was Lila. This time it was me. I noticed Ethan standing in the doorway, looking utterly shattered. You've got it all wrong, I said. Wrong about what? Who gave you the right to look down on me like that? Lila snapped. Lila. Ethan's enraged voice cut through her rant. Son of a bitch. You've been playing me this entire time. If I hadn't chosen you, I'd never have ended up in this mess. He looked like he might explode, breathing ragged, staring daggers at her. I didn't wait to watch the fallout. I headed for the exit and closed the door behind me. At the end of the hallway, Adrian leaned against the window, backlit and calm, as if he'd been waiting patiently the entire time. I walked up to him quickly. Come on, let's get the hell out of here. Lila stole confidential Winters Industries files and handed them straight to their biggest competitor. The entire company went into total meltdown and almost went under. All because Ethan wouldn't marry her and was even talking to his parents about arranging a business marriage for her instead. Lila had completely lost it. Total scorched earth mentality. If she couldn't have what she wanted, she'd burn it all down. She sold out to their biggest rivals. Less than 2 months after that conference, the news hit. Honestly, the corporate espionage didn't surprise me at all. Whether in my past life or this one, that was just who Lila really was underneath it all. Adrian filled me in on all the gory details and I laughed it off, thinking their drama had finally ended. But the Winters family had an even bigger nightmare. Ethan ended up in the ICU. Lila had stabbed him. Apparently, she hadn't gotten far before Winters' security caught her. The family, still hoping to reason with her, tried to sit down and talk. Instead, Lila whipped out a kitchen knife and lunged at Mrs. Winters, the woman who had treated her like her own daughter for years. This is all your fault, you fucking bitch. If you hadn't turned Ethan against me, he'd never have dumped me on some random asshole. Ethan threw himself between them to protect his mother. By the time Lila realized what was happening and tried to stop, it was too late. Ethan was fighting for his life in intensive care. The Winters had had enough. Lila was arrested on the spot, charged with corporate espionage and attempted murder. She was looking at a lifetime behind bars. A year later, Moonrise Corporation went public on the NASDAQ. The Caldwells threw a massive celebration in my honor, inviting every major player in politics and business. I worked the room flawlessly, seamlessly chatting with industry titans, power players, and investors, soaking in their admiration. My eyes wandered toward a corner of the ballroom. Ethan was there, looking completely uncomfortable and out of his element. His suit was decent quality, but outdated, the fabric fraying at the edges. One look was enough. Then he immediately turned away. The only reason the Winters were even present was because Mrs. Winters had begged Mrs. Caldwell for an invite. These events were networking gold, and they were desperately trying to rebuild connections. They were broke now, forced to sell their mansion months ago. When the dancing started, I politely turned down every invitation to dance. Taking advantage of the thinning crowd, I slipped out to the terrace for some air. The evening breeze felt cool against my face. I was lost in thought when Ethan appeared out of nowhere. Sophia. He stared at me with intensity. You came back too, didn't you? We were married for decades. You can't bullshit me. The night air seemed to freeze. His voice dropped to a whisper. Back at the children's home. You could have spoken up. You could have told them you knew me, why didn't you? I kept my face blank. I wanted a life that didn't have you in it. Which is exactly what you did to me first, right? Those words hit him like a punch. He staggered back, ghost white, mouth moving as if he wanted to speak but couldn't find the words. Deep down, he knew the truth. He'd been the one to choose someone else first. What right did he have to question me now? He turned away, destroyed, shoulders sagging as if someone had crushed his soul. I watched until he disappeared into the night. Sophia? That familiar voice came from behind. I turned to see Adrian walking toward me. He glanced briefly toward the ballroom, then handed me a warm mug of honey tea. You doing okay? He asked softly, worry in his voice. I took the mug and looked at Adrian's perfect profile in the moonlight. Then I glanced back at Mrs. Caldwell, still gracefully working the room inside. I'm great, I said, shaking my head with a genuine smile, resting my head gently on Adrian's shoulder. Adrian, you know what? What? This life I'm living, it's fucking incredible. I had a mom who pushed me, but respected me. I had a big brother, who always had my back no matter what. This happiness I was feeling, it was real, and it was mine. All that pain and betrayal was in the rearview mirror. This time around, I was going to shine. 10 years into my classified CIA career, my high school group chat exploded. Everyone was frantically tagging me. Victoria, are you serious? Skipping Lillian's wedding. I scrolled up. Lillian Prescott, the golden girl, cheer captain, untouchable goddess of our class, was getting married today. Every single classmate was there. Sorry guys, couldn't get the day off. I typed plain and simple. That one line unleashed hell. What kind of loser job won't give you one day off? Bet she's flipping burgers somewhere and too embarrassed to admit it. Lillian at me directly. Didn't I call it back then? That I'd crush you in the future. Guess I was right. I typed back flatly. Nope. Don't remember. That only made them pile on harder. Well, FYI, Lillian just bagged Washington's richest guy. She's literally a billionaire's wife now. Girl probably can't even afford a wedding gift. Should we Venmo her some pity money? Amid the verbal assault, Lillian tagged me again, playing the fake sweet card. Since we were classmates, I'll be generous. How about I line up a nanny job for you? Then she posted her wedding photo. One look at her husband's face, and I froze. The groom was Harrison Ellsworth, the same man who had been on his knees 3 years ago, begging me to marry him. All right then. I'll come. Wouldn't miss witnessing your perfect happiness. Me, the real wife, attending my husband's wedding to his mistress. Now, that was interesting. Right after replying to Lillian, a message popped up. Baby, don't overwork yourself. Can't wait to see you when your shift hits. I miss you so much. My CIA work, 10 years of writing the president's daily brief, kept me isolated. Even married, Harrison and I barely saw each other. His constant "I miss you" texts had me completely fooled. God, what an idiot I had been. I actually believed he loved me. What a joke. I requested emergency leave and drove my government-issued SUV straight to Lillian's small-town wedding. From blocks away, I could see a massive banner across her family's house. Welcome Ellsworth Enterprises, CEO Harrison Ellsworth. Lillian stood beneath it in designer white, soaking up worship from our classmates. Girl, you've been hiding this. Washington's biggest billionaire? Harrison's not just wealthy. Nobody dares cross him. How did you land someone that powerful? Even our old teacher Philip Radcliffe was kissing ass. Lillian, I always knew you were destined for greatness. That's why I never cared about your grades. You were born for luxury. Lillian basked in their worship, glowing with smugness. What a sick joke. Harrison would have been crushed years ago without our marriage protecting him. I'm the reason he was still playing richest man now. Never imagined this would be Lillian's crown to flaunt. When they spotted me, the brown nosing stopped cold. Victoria, this is what 10 years gets you? Some cheap piece of junk. They cackled, until someone noticed my plates. Wait, is that a government-issued SUV? That's not something money can touch. That's straight from the president. Has to be fake. No way she rates those. What a pathetic wannabe bitch. I stayed calm. The car is real. And the plates? White House issue. Lillian suddenly charged and slapped me hard. Of course they're real. That's my husband's CAR. I knew that bastard was cheating. You disgusting homewrecker. How dare you show up at my wedding in my husband's car? Her accusation made everyone's eyes go wide. Wait, Lillian. That's actually your husband's car? She smirked with pure arrogance.
Duh.
Harrison's picked me up in this exact ride. I even have pics. She pulled out her phone, flashing photos of her and Harrison, selfies inside the car, romantic shots on the hood. Every detail matched my vehicle perfectly. Everyone gasped. Holy shit, it really is Harrison's car. Explains such a badass plate. So, Victoria's definitely his side piece. Lillian's face twisted with rage. No wonder you ghost Instagram. You've been busy being a homewrecker? The mob turned vicious. Damn. Always thought Victoria was some uptight genius, but she's just a basic whore. I had the biggest crush on her in high school. God, I feel sick. She's flaunting her sugar daddy's car right in front of the wife, here to ruin the wedding, obviously. Even Philip looked disgusted. Victoria, never tell anyone I taught you. I don't claim trash. The mob grew bigger, filming, spitting, even trying to attack me. I stripped off my coat and tossed it in the trash, facing Lillian directly. You assault people without facts? Real classy. Lillian sneered. I'll hit whoever I want. I'm about to be Washington's richest woman. I own this city. She grabbed a brick. Makes me sick thinking about you in my husband's car. I'd rather destroy it than let some whore like you drive it. She went ballistic, smashing windows, lights, everything in reach. Let's help Lillian. Can't let this homewrecker disrespect our future billionaire queen. The whole group joined the rampage, hurling rocks. My armored government SUV barely showed a scratch. What the hell is this fucking SUV made of? I called out calmly. You better stop. This isn't just any car. Damaging it won't just cost you money. That set Lillian off worse. It's my husband's CAR. I'll smash it if I want. She yanked the doors open, leading the mob inside to slash the seats and interior. Watching these lunatics destroy federal property, I calmly dialed my boss. President, the White House vehicle assigned to me has been wrecked. Before my boss could speak, Lillian's sidekick snatched my phone and smashed it on the pavement. Calling for backup? You're just a home-wrecking slut. Know your place. Nice try, whore. Gonna call your other sugar daddies for help. Girl, we've known you since 9th grade. Quit the fake-ass act. Seriously, were you born in a trash can? Because you're full of shit. They erupted in cruel laughter, high-fiving each other. I stared at my shattered phone. Hope you're still laughing later, I muttered through clenched teeth. Lillian grabbed my collar. You bitch, are you threatening us? Then her eyes locked onto my vintage pendant. Her expression changed, hungry, calculating. She yanked it off. Ooh, this looks pricey. Another present from my husband. My blood went ice cold. Give that back.
Now.
Seeing my panic, Lillian's smile turned vicious. Oh, getting nervous? Must be worth serious money. It's worthless. I lunged for it. But it's mine, give it back. That pendant was the only thing I had left of my parents. They died serving this country when I was 17, CIA operatives killed on a classified mission. The night before my 18th birthday, they promised they'd come home and celebrate with me. They never came home. Just 2 flag-draped coffins and this necklace, the only proof they'd ever loved me. Nobody touches it. Nobody. The more you beg, the more I want to break it. Before I could reach her, Lillian hurled the pendant at the concrete with all her strength. The vintage pendant shattered into a dozen pieces, scattering across the ground like my broken heart. No. Watching my parents' final gift explode into pieces, I couldn't breathe. My chest felt like it was caving in. You fucking bitch. My fist flew up, ready to end her. But I froze mid-swing. The president's voice echoed in my head. My combat training could kill civilians. I wasn't authorized for lethal force against ordinary people, no matter what. Seeing me hesitate, Lillian smirked and pointed at her face. Go ahead. Hit me. What's wrong? Too scared to touch Washington's future queen. I ignored her taunts and dropped to my knees, gathering the pendant fragments with trembling hands. Pathetic coward. You won't hit me, but I'll sure as hell destroy you. Lillian turned to the crowd. Beat this homewrecker to hell. $1 million to whoever makes her bleed. That unleashed the pack. My former classmates swarmed me like vultures. Trying to hit our Lillian? She's gonna be a billionaire's wife. You worthless whore. It's just some cheap jewelry you earned spreading your legs anyway. Homewrecker bitch, stealing her man and still dare to swing at Lillian? Wrong crowd, honey. Even Philip landed a few kicks while I was down. Through the beating, I kept gathering the vintage pendant pieces, my voice steel cold. You're all gonna regret this. They roared with laughter. Come on. Bitch, you're nobody. Just some washed-up slut threatening your betters. Know your place, homewrecker. Shameless bitch. Stealing your classmate's husband? What a disgrace. I'd be dead from the shame. They jeered, faces full of contempt, hurling insults without mercy. Even the bystanders piled on, calling me delusional. Riding their cheers, Lillian grabbed my hair and snarled. Regret? Bitch, I've never regretted anything in my life. Can't wait to see what some bottom feeder like you can do to me. The second she finished speaking, a massive convoy of black military SUVs roared up and surrounded us completely. The massive convoy brought instant silence to the chaos. Everyone froze, staring. Even Lillian released my hair, transfixed by the military vehicles. A suited man opened the lead car door. Harrison Ellsworth emerged in a tailored designer suit, devastatingly handsome, commanding attention with every step. Holy shit, that's Harrison Ellsworth? Damn. Look at this fucking entrance. Talk about billionaire flex. So over the top, using military-grade SUVs for a wedding. Not even in my wildest dreams. He's hot and loaded. No wonder that slut Victoria was chasing him. Lillian hit the jackpot. I'm so jealous I could die. Lillian practically threw herself at Harrison.
Babe.
These are insane. How do you even get them? Harrison kissed her forehead. Knew you'd love it. Called in some special favors for my bride. Only the best for you, sweetheart. Lillian melted against him. You're amazing. I love you. I'm the luckiest woman alive. Harrison pulled her close. You're my wife. Of course I spoil you. Our classmates instantly turned into pathetic ass-kissers. Mr. Ellsworth. I run a marketing firm. If Ellsworth Enterprises ever needs advertising. Sir, Here's our company's new product line, complimentary samples. I'm Lillian's bestie from way back. Got any job openings? They crawled over each other, desperate for his attention. Watching our old classmates bow and scrape, Lillian glowed with superiority, while Harrison's assistant collected their cards with obvious boredom. All right, let's head to the venue, Harrison announced, checking his Rolex. Got the whole hotel booked, and there's enough cars for everyone. The crowd buzzed with excitement, practically salivating over attending a billionaire's wedding. Just as they started toward the vehicles, sirens wailed in the distance. Police cars screeched up, officers jumping out with weapons drawn. Nobody move. We got reports of assault and destruction of federal property.